Hello, Brav. This is a news article from the Washington Evening Star from October 18th, 1954, which speaks about the diplomat's wife, which is Clarice Lispector. There she is with her typewriter. Strange that no books of hers had been translated at this point in October of 1954, but that they were writing articles about her. The Society Woman. Today in Society by Ruth Dean. Diplomat's wife is well-known author. Writing is a solitary but an exciting adventure to Madame Gurgel Valente, wife of the first secretary of the Brazilian embassy. The pretty blonde diplomatic wife already has 3 published novels to her credit, written under her maiden name, Clarice Lispector, and all sold out in their first printing. She also had a collection of short stories compiled into a book. Though her husband is her best critic and her 2 young sons enliven her daytime hours, she finds that the actual tackling of a novel demands a kind of solitude similar to the feeling of being lonely in a crowded room. No one can help you. You must find your own way, she explained as her recipe for creative writing. Former reporter, with no formal preparation for her work other than a few years as a newspaper reporter on the Rio de Janeiro paper A Noite. I'm not sure what that A Noite. I believe it's an I and not an L. Madame Valente modestly attributes her success to a few simple rules. You must be truthful with your mind and imagination, she says, and follow your heart in what to say. The pretty diplomatic wife is reluctant to talk about herself, but even more about her novels. With quiet firmness, she begs off discussing her literary creations because she doesn't feel she can describe them adequately in a few words. They are written in Portuguese, and thus far there have been no English translations. She does explain they are written from a psychological approach through the minds rather than the actions of her characters. Joyce, quotation, her first published novel, Near the Wild Heart, which I am reading at present on this channel, is now being translated into French. Her inspiration for the title came from a quotation from James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, with typical reserve, and I've read somewhere that even though she hadn't read Joyce's book, she took the quote from the book and was being compared to Joyce, even though she had never read him, or so she claimed. With typical reserve, she hesitated to elaborate on the contents of a novel with such an intriguing title, but with a sort of charming detachment, she mused cryptically, "We can do no more than try to approach the wild heart of life." As she sipped a small cup of strong Brazilian coffee, or cafezinho, as they call it in Brazil, Madame Valente reeled off the names of her other 2 novels. She is especially proud that a small Paris literary magazine selected a chapter from one of her books, A Cidade Sitiada, for printing in a recent issue. The young Brazilian authoress keeps to a regular daily schedule of writing. The seclusion of the Valente's white brick colonial, green-shuttered home in Chevy Chase, I believe that's in Maryland, provides a quiet atmosphere, and she manages to get in about 3 or 4 hours every morning. Routine essential. This regular routine she thinks essential. It's like keeping a pencil sharpened so that you're always ready when inspiration comes, she said. Madame Valente wrote her first novel when she was only 21. Deeply proud of her country, which she thinks has a warmth and an aliveness she has felt nowhere else. The novelist has high praise for Brazilian authors. She is particularly proud of the fact that one of her country's leading novelists, Enrico Verissimo, is here in Washington as director of the Pan-American Union's Department of Cultural Affairs. Someday she would like to try her hand at writing children's books, which she did, but doesn't think she is ready for it now. You must have a special gift for speaking to children, she said seriously. In the meantime, Madame Valente is not resting on her laurels. She already has another novel on the fire, but of course she's not saying what it's about. No mention of her being born in Ukraine. I still say she was a spy. I know hardly anything about her, but just a weird story. Weird story and origins. All right, that's all.